All right, I've got 6:30. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order with roll call.
Travis Kramer,
Here.
Scott McCorney,
Here.
Jeremy Hansen,
Here.
Jason Weesey,
Here.
Paul Kraus.
Here. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Item 4, consent agenda. Everybody was here for the last meeting. Don't see anything to consider separately unless somebody else does.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason Weesey,
Aye.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Item 5, approval of minutes from the October 16th, 2023 regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 16th, 2023 regular board meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the board meeting minutes from October 16th, 23 as presented. There's no further discussion. Let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason Weesey,
Aye.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Item 6A, discussion and possible approval of quotes from Lauren for additional insurance.
So People Service does cover our sewer backups. So it's just if you guys want to add that additional liability to the max, so whatever the coverage is.
So that would be the increase of $997.12.
Yeah,
Okay. So our contract with Peoples covers the backup, so we don't need any of those.
Right.
Improve our liability limits, make a motion to accept that increase.
Where we're at now, or is it a concern to anybody?
This seems to be the new standard is what they're telling us that everybody's going with is the 5 million, and where are we at now?
we're at 4 million, 3 million, 3 million. But they said 5 million is the max, and they were just recommending to everybody to do that, but again, I mean, that's just up to us. And
Was that for villages of our size, or was that generically just a number they have?
I think villages of our size, he'd been to several others similar to us and was doing the same thing, so I was under the impression that it would be good for us, but he felt like it would be good for us, but again.
Yeah, as a liability limit, right? It's only if we do something negligent that wouldn't be covered.
So like, if someone were to sue us,
Yeah.
5 million would be the max that we could.
Got it.
Are we comfortable where we're at, or do we want the extra coverage? What do you guys think?
I think I'm comfortable.
My recommendation would be to raise the liability to 5 million. Something happens, 5 million's gone pretty quick. Depending on what it is. I just know what I carry from the personal perspective.
I feel like Warren isn't in the business of selling us stuff we don't need. I feel comfortable with their recommendations. We ask them a lot of times for guidance on ordinances and a lot of other things too, so. Were you willing to make that?
I'll make a motion to increase our liability limits to 5 million for an increase of $997.21.
Okay, where's that coming out of the budget?
The what?
The budget? So the word, do we have this budgeted for it? Is there amount that
Oh, I.
extra
Did for, I'm not sure, I don't know.
under general, I'm assuming, right? That's 16,000. The sheet that you gave us today.
So.
I guess I just don't know where the liability policy, where how you're coding it. Make sure it's covered under our budget. There's group insurance for streets, but I'm guessing that's not it.
General insurance.
That would be my guess, don't you think?
Yeah, we had $212 this month and the budget is 16,000 would be, that would be where. I would think it goes.
I'd definitely make a note of it, so that way if we do approve it, then it's. We adjust our budget appropriately for next year. Were you ready to call for a vote? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
We have a motion, we don't have a second yet. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to increase the liability limits to 5 million on general liability, E&O, and auto liability. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jason Macy,
Aye.
Travis Kramer,
Nay.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Fine. Item B, discussion about historical marker drafts from the Washington County Historical Association. They are waiting for us to narrow this down, basically.
Yeah, her recommendations are on that first page and, yeah, we had talked about 1 pedestal stand and then 6 building signs. From what they researched, I think she had 4 building signs and 3 different pedestal stands. I mean, we can pick whatever we want. They will also be adding like our logo on there. And I told her I didn't know how satisfied we were with our logo, and I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's something else to think about, yes, and I don't know how we go about just getting another one, a different one. But anyway,
I've always envisioned a city history pedestal down here. This property is easy for us to get the okay on, put it here. And I like the idea of a city history one. She'd mentioned that, but she doesn't have the village hall as a place. I would think the school or the fairgrounds would be good places to do a pedestal. They say they don't have a lot of information about the park auditorium, but
yeah, so she said that park was not the original city park, and I said, okay, well, like, I told her about that there was like a big fountain in the middle, and I said, that's not the park that we have now, and she said it wasn't, that it was, I think, more west of town or something, but,
so she wants 4 building signs.
that was her,
Okay.
or from what she came up with.
Well, I think the 4 that are listed on here are probably really good choices unless somebody see something else. Obviously, the Marshall Nursery is a big one. Marshall Nursery's house, Cheryl Abbott's already had that designated as a historical property, and she's willing to have a plaque, I'm sure.
Yep.
The senior center seems like a good fit. The pet hospital, Dr. Katie's building. So that's our 4. If everybody's in agreement with those, that's our 4 building signs. And I'd say we pick 2 or 3 pedestal locations and let them run with that. Maybe you could, maybe ask the school if they have a department that could help us with the logo.
Okay.
See if that might be a good class project for the school. See if they could give us some suggestions for a logo. And she wants 3 pedestal signs?
I mean, that's what she recommended, or her suggestions.
Could you make the auditorium city park pool one just a parks? And talk about the original park and then talk about the current one and Bell Creek maybe and
Yeah.
Travis on that one.
I don't know,
Like
the way to,
So you guys like
more history than
these
just-
3 locations? Or do we change one of them to the village office here, this corner where we've got a bench and?
I like the school here in the auditorium city park pool. Why are we doing the dance hall? It's fairgrounds. That's not us. That's not even in the village.
I'd rather have the city history one.
Yeah.
up front.
The city history one here,
I
I
like
think.
that.
Everybody in agreement with that? All right, ask her to change the fairgrounds one to the city office, village office, and see if we can move forward with that.
On that park one, I would put something about how, community members came together to create the Two Rivers ballpark or River Park or whatever it's
Yeah.
called now.
Yeah,
I'd have something about that in that
Okay.
history of that too.
any other guidance or direction for that project?
I don't think so. It's just kind of where we're at. So then she'll send it over to the people that like make the signs, and she'll send us like
Mhm.
the
The mock-ups.
whatever. But we need to look.
Sounds good.
And what was the amount that we decided to give to that? You remember, Kate?
We have it written down.
That's all right.
We had a budget figure of less than 1,500, I believe.
Yeah.
Isn't it around 12?
We got a grant for like 4 or 3 or something.
Mhm.
And I believe they've raised more fundraising money on their end. All right, if there's no further discussion needed on item B, let's move forward to new business, item A. Introduction from Trinity Chapelier, constituent liaison for Ricketts.
Hi, I'm Trinity. Oh, it's okay if I just sit here and do it.
That's fine.
Yes, Chapel here from Arlington. And so I work for US Senator Pete Ricketts as constituent liaison, so my job is just to help people. That's what the state offices do. I've been assigned Washington County. And so when people, citizens have issues, with a federal agency, when my agency is IRS, hopefully they won't need me. Or if it's veteran services or Medicare, our job is to help the citizen and reach out to those agencies and get a solution for them. I'm also the contact for Senator Ricketts for federal grants. If someone applies for a federal grant and wants a letter of support from the senator, I'm the one to contact and help them wade through that. So just happy to be here, and you're going to be seeing more of me.
All right. Thank you for the
So,
introduction.
always available.
All right. Good to hear.
Brother-in-law tried out.
Got a local cheering section, huh?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to item B, discussion of planning commission recommendation for residential dwellings in C1 commercial zoning. Their meeting, it looked like it was pretty clear that the new business was to consider a request by the board to consider possible changes to the municipal code, specifically zoning regulations that apply to the general commercial district C1. The commission had a good discussion on the best use now and in the future of the downtown business area They recognize the importance of balancing the need to set clear zoning parameters with providing some flexibility with current and future owners. Steve Slikis made a motion, seconded by Charlie Reed, to recommend no changes to current zoning, nor to recommend any additions to the list of permitted conditional uses under C1. So that was their recommendation. It was a unanimous vote of the members present, so. That means there's nothing for us to act upon unless somebody wanted to comment on this matter. We can move along. Item C, discussion of possible approval to provide concrete pads around 3 CBUs in the Gotch edition. No, we've got 2 people interested in this. Does anybody want to speak about this?
I can pretty much tell you what I've done. I contacted Barry directly, told him that he is required to supply CBUs in the new neighborhood, and he pretty much said, he said, you can contact my attorney. And he said, I'm not talking to you anymore now. But to prevent the future, I brought the guide for builders and developers, post office handbook, which does require them to go through you or through the planning, local government planning, and then also to go to the post office for delivery. Was able to acquire 3 used CDUs this weekend from Schneider for them to install, but it was on the condition that the concrete was paid for by the village or by the individuals in the neighborhood.
Do you have anything to say on this?
I mean, so one of the things that's frustrating is that this, you'd sure think this would be worked out when the development was done. So we missed that somehow in planning. I guess from my position on the board, it's probably hopeful the planning commission puts something in the future that we get this so it doesn't happen again. I know that there's now people building houses up there that can't get mailboxes up there. I believe they've been told by the post office they're not allowed to have a post office.
I was told to go ahead and you got 3 options basically. You can put up mailboxes just like what's out there.
Yep.
But they'll have to be the same height, same distance from the road. That's the primary condition. It's got to be 41 to 48 inches to the opening, bottom opening. It's got to be 6 to 8 inches back from the curb. Problem we've got back there right now is boxes are actually the boxes are pretty even in height. It's some are set back further than the others, so you have to drive up onto the curb to deliver the mail, and then you got to quickly come back down off the curb so you don't hit the next mailbox. You know, and it doesn't really matter to me. They can also do a construction post like what is on Bell Street, but aesthetically, CBUs are the way to go. I've got them. It's up to the residents or the village if they want to pay for the concrete. And it's just kind of a one-time good deal. Those 2 units were inspired when the post office was being renovated. That was the box section. It was basically they go out and the clerk could go out and sort the mail into the CDUs for the residents that have through PO boxes like the quarter-mile residents here.
And what was the thought of the people at the meeting the other day?
They like the CBUs.
And they don't want to pay, or
Well, their thoughts, same thing as,
the development should take care of it?
because if it wasn't a good deal, they don't have to go to a CBU. Like James said, every member's got to sign off on a change. Otherwise, they'll leave mailboxes where they want. So they don't have to change. So I thought this was a win for us to get them collected together. Like it'll be cleaner. It'll actually, there's a couple spots where there's mailboxes along one property, which isn't helping Barry to sell it.
And Barry's pissed off about it too, because they're properties that haven't been sold and they're just random colored boxes, random sizes, random styles.
So that would help him to sell it, which is good for our tax base.
Do we have an estimate on what the concrete would cost?
I don't know what it would cost. The biggest problem we've got on Ash is there's no sidewalk, so there's no way to make it ADA compliant. Now, I don't know if there can be a temporary, deal with ADA, where there's gonna be a sidewalk put in there. We're just waiting for the development to finish. And same with Sycamore. The two locations that we do have options on Katy, there's sidewalk there, so that would make it ADA. There's ramps on both ends. On the one end for between Birch and Poplar, there's sidewalk halfway. So if we put it on the concrete, the sidewalk there, then that would be ADA compliant in the respect of have a ramp access.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a way around the ADA compliance temporarily.
Well, these are things that we didn't have to think about when they're coming in and building these lots, but we've got a lot more questions for a developer now, don't we?
And it should have been taken care of years ago. The whole other, the rest of the Gotch development has CBUs. Why they couldn't be put in there, I don't know. I don't know if it was the post office provided the CBUs, which was not supposed to happen. The developer's supposed to provide that. And you just add it into the expense of the lot, which they're in it for the money, so it'd be $100 for per person probably, and probably charge you $500 extra for mail delivery unit.
Yeah. Well, I hate to see the rest of the village have to pay for something that is the result of somebody just not wanting to follow the rules. I mean, you know.
It's a failure on multiple parts. I mean, the post office for not enforcing it, the village for not enforcing it, you know. But since we did start the rural mailboxes, we can continue with the rural mailboxes, but now you got Barry pissed off, and I don't know what he'll do. That was one of the things that he really was irate with me about, is that we put the mailboxes up wherever we wanted to work, and without even asking him. I'm like, you were supposed to set up the mail delivery before you started the development, so.
And those are the rural mailboxes, you mean the ones that were just set up and not in the CB, yeah.
And it's changed a couple times, because at one time it wasn't part of every house up there. And then it was changed that they need to be collected together to make it faster for delivery. And that's where it sits today.
What kind of an action would you like to see the village take?
I think it's cleaner for the CBUs. Again, part of me says it should have been caught early on. It should have been caught when the development was done. So I guess you look at the pros of the tax base you've gotten, the village has gotten in the time that development's been there. So I don't know. My part of it says we're talking a square of concrete from curb to sidewalk when the sidewalks are done.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? 10?
That's what we,
Is that about
the
10?
concrete work we've done around here was $10 a square foot. I don't know.
And it also depends on whether you want parcel lockers put in there as well. Those I can provide, but the CPUs, the only reason I was able to get them is that they were used and they were available to take. But parcel lockers, I can order them.
But James, you have the CVUs that can go in.
They're in the back. You gotta get a screwdriver, a security screwdriver to remove them.
And that cost alone is there a cost that needs to be to the village or to the,
No,
so those are good
they're $1,000 to $1,500 a piece.
normally,
Yes.
but we have 3 that could go in that could supply the whole neighborhood. Okay. And so, yeah, so cement size for that, you need what, 5, 6 by 10?
Well, it depends on whether we're gonna put parcel lockers in. We need double the width if we're putting parcel lockers in. Because the parcel lockers are about the same width. If you look at the units on Poplar by Ash, there's 2 units there.
Okay.
One's the CBU and one's a parcel locker.
And that's not much more than 6 or 7 foot across, is it?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
2 of them side by side.
I don't believe so. And the CBUs, the only, there's a scratch here and there and faded. And in the base, they're aluminum, so, you know, you get the salt from the winter, so there's a little bit of, you know, stuff on the base, but they're lightly used.
Well, if this is something we made a motion to approve and figure out a way to recoup our costs from the developer, maybe. Is this something we can even get done yet this year, you know, get concrete?
Concrete, yes, I don't think that, well, it depends on what the concrete worker is, but still not too cold.
What do you guys think? Was this a responsibility of the village to do it and then see if we can recoup our costs or?
Well, I think if Barry wants to play lawyer, let's play lawyer. Let's have our lawyer contact us and see what our guy thinks. I mean, if we had an agreement that was taken care of in the development to begin with, I think that's Barry's responsibility, not ours.
Yeah, we're talking $2,000. I mean. For the cement.
Or $2,000 from the attorney.
Well, we have them on retainer, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we keep this information you gave us?
Oh, yeah, you're welcome to that. I had an extra copy. I think it'd be good for you guys to have that, and if you want more, I can get the ones that are professionally done instead of just on my printer.
Let's get this information to our lawyer and ask him for a recommendation. How's that sound? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I like it.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks for your time. Appreciate it. All right, item D, streets committee report. We've got stuff coming up here from JEO, so I don't think we really got anything other than that. We're pretty excited, still pretty excited about our bids that came in on our street project for next spring, so. Let's go ahead and move on to item B, review payment about payment evaluation of Bell Street and First Street. Steve, you're gonna take that?
Steve Hart, JEO. I handed y'all a copy of the report. I think you may have seen this before, but I'll just kind of run through it. Hopefully you all had a chance to maybe look at it previously. But anyway, if you recall, we got a proposal from Teal Geotech to take the pavement boards on Bell Street and First Street. So I'll just kind of touch base on this. So there were 20 cores done. Cores 1 through 13 were on Bell Street, and cores 14 through 20 were on First Street. And on the first page, actually, if you look at the first page and the second page, you can see what the total thickness was. So they took the cores. Typically, when asphalt's laid down, there's a base core, and then there's a. So when they did the cores, they can see that. So that's what those measurements are showing. But you know, the bottom line is what's the total thickness. So you can see the cores on Bell Street. There is some variation, but for the most part, we got over 6 inches of asphalt on that roadway. Really that section of roadway is in decent shape. Other than there is some spots where there's some cracking. I think up by the Gotch addition, there was an area there that probably going to need some patching at some point in time. But long term, probably looking at a mill and overlay at some point in time in the future. If you drive that street, you notice that there's some transverse cracking on the street. So when you're riding, there's kind of that bump. That's normal. That's going to happen on asphalt that's older. Those would be repaired, or our recommendation would be to repair those too. So their recommendation is to do some repairs, fairly minor, and then do a 1-inch mill and then a 2-inch lift back that roadway sometime in the future. Okay. First Street, another story. That roadway is in really bad condition. Their recommendation, that section of roadway, if you look at the cores, actually the thicknesses are a little lighter. There's a fair amount of it that's less than 6 inches, or even a couple spots less than 5 inches. They noted that when they came out and did their site visit, that there was some truck traffic on that roadway, which I would assume there probably is from time to time. Bell Street, maybe not so much. Maybe there is some, but probably First Street more just because it goes out in the country. And so they observed that. And they think based on their, the pavement thickness and what they saw, that's why that roadway is breaking up. It just can't handle that, especially if there's any truck traffic on that roadway. When you think about it, if you look at those thicknesses, the paving that we did a few years ago and the paving that's going to be put in, the concrete paving, that's 7 inches. And this is less than that. And there's some truck traffic on it. So you've got probably a couple options on First Street. Is short term is at some point do some significant patching on that roadway, and then do a 1-inch mill and a 2-inch lift of asphalt. And if I remember right, they said that life expectancy on that was about 10 years, probably. The best fix would be to do a full reconstruction of that roadway. They were looking at it as if it would be asphalt. I think if it was decided to go with a reconstruction, I think we'd want to look at concrete in the roadway, especially if there's truck traffic on it. So I think it's going to be one of those things that at some point we're going to have to do some patching on that roadway because it's in, but you know what that's like. That's expensive too. So it's probably just something for us to think about.
Mhm.
And actually
If we put that road in the concrete, would you still recommend a weight limit?
well, then we wouldn't have to, because we could design it thick enough to handle the truck. What kind of?
When you say a weight limit, give me an idea of how many tons you're thinking would be an appropriate weight limit.
I'd have to check on that one.
Okay.
I should have.
I shouldn't put.
And I think the weight limit would be like, I'm assuming that Tom was like, you wouldn't have trucks not on that roadway.
Cause that's a pretty popular road for buses too.
Yeah, bus is probably okay, but
Buses
I'm
are
thinking
12 to
like,
15 tons. I've got just on a quick internet search.
right, truck,
No,
livestock
yeah,
that are hauling heavy loads, right? Bus is probably okay, but the weight limit would probably restrict that farm to market traffic on it. Yep. Which there may be some
well, there's gonna be blowback, no matter what.
That's a good word.
If we put a weight limit on that road, we're gonna hear about it, I know.
And so it's like, yeah, is that a good plan or not? Right?
Well, if the county doesn't wanna work with us,
Right, and that's the other thing.
maybe. Oh,
Yeah, reminder
you can
is,
drive on the county roads all you want because they don't wanna help us fix our roads that you're wearing out,
right,
you know?
First Street is all inside the corporate limits. Bell Street, there is the west section and the east section that is questionable whether that's all village responsibility or.
We questioned it, but I thought we got a statement from my.
Right, now he's saying we're not doing anything on
Yeah.
that section of roadway because it's a village street.
Yeah.
So, so that comes into play too. Yeah. So don't need any action or anything tonight, obviously. It's probably something for us to think about. Probably the next step would be, it would, at least on First Street, would be to go out and try to quantify like what does that patching look like, right? Just to get an idea of like, oh, how much area would have to be patched. And probably the thing to do would be wait till next spring. Let's get through a winter because that could change the type of winter. But go out there in the spring, measure the areas that look like they're going to need patching and quantify that, at least the patching part of it, and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I think long term, based on this report, is that roadway is probably going to have to get reconstructed. And I think we're going to end up pouring a lot of money into it. And then we're going to go, we still have an old roadway. Now, Bell Street's another story. That one is not in bad shape. So. Right, I think they did a really good job on this report. I mean, the documentation, the photos, everything really gives us,
I don't.
Gives a
think I've ever
good
seen
idea of
photos
what-
before when
it was money well
It
spent.
was interesting to see the photos, yeah.
Yeah, I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
So, any questions about this?
Wait till spring. Let's say we decide we want to do something in spring. What's our timeline for getting bids out and what year we would think construction would happen? Spring of 24, we say, we want to do something with First Street or Bell and First. If you were gonna do one project, obviously First Street would probably be the one that's more important.
Right.
Just give me an
Well-
idea of,
I was gonna say, if we wait till spring. If we wait till spring and said, okay, we want to at least get some patching done on there. I'm not sure, I don't know if we get it done next year, just
Mhm.
depends on
so we would schedule construction for 25 maybe,
25, but then you could budget for it,
yeah.
right?
And then we would expect to bid that in the fall
Fall.
of 24.
Yep.
Okay,
To get it out so we can get on the schedule and get built in the spring, early summer, right?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think that would be a
Well,
good time.
yeah. We got all kinds of street projects. We just gotta figure out who's gonna pay for them.
There's plenty to do, absolutely, right. But I will say, I think it was a good plan. Realizing there was a cost to it, and there will continue to be a cost to it, but to patch these existing streets, just to hold them together until
Mhm.
something more can be done.
Yeah.
Which, that's what you're doing right now, is taking on some bigger concrete paving projects, right? So. Okay,
All right,
okay. And I'm up again.
all right. Discussion and possible approval of amendment 2 with JEO Consulting for construction services for the 23 street project.
Okay, so I think you should have all had a copy of this. I'm not gonna go into great detail, but I'll go through a little detail on this. This is very similar to what you approved when we did the last paving project. So as part of construction services, one of the first things that happens is there's a pre-construction meeting, and that's with the contractor, JEO staff, and then also village staff. They have that initial kickoff meeting before the contractor starts the project to look at schedule and just a whole bunch of things as far as how the project's going to proceed. Contractor always submits shop drawings of materials to be incorporated into the project. So rebar, the storm sewer pipe, the pipe, the concrete mix, those items, to review those and make sure that they meet the specifications. We're anticipating that there will be 6 monthly progress meetings as the project goes along. It's a big project. It's around the school. We think that's important to have that monthly progress meeting. That way everybody knows, like, okay, this is what happened this last month. This is what's going to happen next month. And probably would be a good idea to be thinking about, okay, who do we want to have at those meetings? I would think we want to invite the school, somebody from the school, the principal or whoever else to come to that meeting. And then that way they know what's going on. Here's the schedule. Get some feedback about that if they have any concerns, but also if there are some concerns, okay, let's get those addressed, especially around the school site. So construction staking, we have to stake out the entire project, the paving, and there's some storm sewer. We will put together a set of as-built plans when it's all done. So there's record drawings. We'll review pay applications. I forgot to mention that we're anticipating attending 7 meetings to review the construction of the project, and there'll be pay applications to review and approve. Potentially, there's always a potential for a change order for something that needs to be addressed that isn't part of the plans. We'll do a final walkthrough of the project with the contractor and village staff. Put together that punch list, get that to the contractor, go through one more time to make sure that everything's completed, and then bring you the final project closeout documents, and you will approve that. We are proposing construction observation, and so we are anticipating Construction schedule about 30 weeks to build the project. I believe the contractor said they were planning on starting in April. So about 30 weeks of construction. We're estimating about 23 hours a week. And then a support person about 4 hours a week, just to observe the progress of the project, make sure everything's getting built according to the plans and specifications. So one thing is, like, some weeks there may be only 12 hours a week, but when they're paving, it'll be full time. When they're doing paving operations, also the subgrade, making sure that that's all done properly and coordinating the materials testing. So there's another agreement that for your consideration tonight too. That'll be materials testing. So subgrade testing, concrete testing, those types of things. So looking at all of that, we've got the a lump sum fee for the construction administration and staking, but the construction observation, we're proposing to do that hourly, so that if the contractor just really gets things done, I don't want to say quickly, but faster than what.
Efficiently.
Very efficiently. Weather permit cooperates, we're only going to bill you for the time that we're here. So that number could be less, but that's what we're estimating right now. So.
And that's on the materials testing you're talking about?
No, this is not materials.
Okay.
That's the next one. This is just on site. So when the person's on site,
Okay,
they're going to be here. They'll fill out an observation report of what's going on, answer any questions, but it's just that observing to make sure how are things going. There's always going to be some questions. There'll probably be some, phone calls from the village, like, hey, check on this, got a property owner, got some concerns, those types of things. So, like I said, very similar to what happened on the last paving project. So I went through that all very quickly. So any questions? The main thing with the construction administration, the construction observation, is just to make sure the contractor builds it according to the plans and specifications. So that's what we're trying to do, is not full time, not out here all the time, but at times when they're out here. So, when they're doing removals, those types of things, we're not going to be standing there watching them take out pavement, curb and gutter. Probably stop by once or twice a week as that's going on. But just when they're really building things and before they pave, we want to check that all out and make sure it looks good. So
the first motion that we would need for talking about this would be the total amount of the 334.
No, the
Just the
fee for the
amendment.
construction administration and staking is a fee of $68,020. And then the construction observation estimate, which would be hourly, is $93,510. So a total of $161,350 would be the max total at this point. Yep. And it could be less than that.
And then testing will be separate.
That would be the next item on your agenda.
And then we've got two other items separate as well. Okay, so.
Yep.
So the
this would
first
be-
motion
this
would have to
amendment
be
is just for construction administration and construction observation.
for the amount of $161,350.
Correct.
Okay. So do we have a motion for that? To approve that adjustment of $161,350?
Yep. That's the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, yes, for $161,350,000.
Start calling you red if you do that every time. We have a motion.
For construction administration and staking, and an hourly for construction observation.
And we have a second. If there's any further discussion, if there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Scott McBurney.
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Aye.
Travis Kramer. Paul Kraus.
Aye. Okay, let's move to item D.
I forgot to mention is John Newberry, who you're familiar with. He will be the project manager during construction. So
Okay. All right. Item D, discussion and possible approval of agreement with TL Geotech for providing construction materials testing for the 2023 street improvement project.
right. So I kind of touched on this. This is for materials testing during construction. So what the materials testing amounts to is subgrade testing, any trench testing, like where they're building the storm sewer pipe, and then concrete testing. So they'll come out before they pave and test the subgrade to make sure it meets the the subgrade requirements. And then when they are paving operations, they will come out and check the concrete. So they'll run an air test, slump test, and then they'll make cylinders. And then those cylinders will be broken. There's a specification that the concrete has to meet a certain strength. That's 3,500 PSI. And so just making sure that once again, there's documentation and testing, make sure that everything is done properly for the pavement, because the paving is only going to be as good as what it's resting on, right? And so they've given an estimated number for, if you remember, we had Group A and Group B. So they gave an estimated number for Group A of $16,115 and Group B $8,675. And so that's not intended to be a lump sum. It's just however many tests they need to do, right? So that's what they're estimating to do that. And it could, once again, it could be less.
So that total comes up to 24,790 according to my math.
I think that is correct. Yes. It is correct.
Make a motion to accept the estimated cost and billing not to exceed $24,790 for Tealy Geotech Incorporated in terms of material testing and services for the North 11th and West Dodge Street project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the agreement with Geotech for providing construction material testing. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Aye.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McLean.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
All right. Item E, discussion of possible approval of agreement with JEO Consulting Group for providing a preliminary design concept for drainage improvements on 7th Street. Now, I'm not sure, actually Jeremy might be the only one that hasn't been involved in this, but we did have at the meeting. We're looking at possible ideas to improve 7th Street without doing a complete sewer drainage and water street project. So
Right. So we looked at this a while back and had some thoughts about, well, okay, let me back up. So the issue is on the north end of 7th Street, north of Dodge, there's a property on the east side of the street that it's been there a while, a house built, and it sits lower than the street. Okay. And so I think from time to time, they've had some concerns with drainage because the drainage in that area drains from west to east. And on the west side, so there's a rock roadway on 7th Street. There really are no drainage ditches on the west side of the roadway. So probably about, I would say, everything from a half a block west of there, approximately, just kind of sheet drains through there. So what's going on is on that property owner that's on the east side, on the north end, south of his driveway, you can see it where there's some erosion happening on the roadway where rock is starting. It is not starting, it has been, and it's getting probably worse where there's erosion and it's pushing that rock into the shoulder area and kind of down that kind of slope. I don't want to say a ditch. And the day we were out there, you can kind of see it. It starts further south on the west side of the road, and you can just kind of see like this path of water. And so he's concerned about that, which kind of get that one. But also, I think what's happening is on the north of his driveway, there's kind of a swale in there. But I think that's kind of always silting in some, and so that's kind of disappearing. So I think he's concerned about water getting into maybe the house, but for sure the garage. You know, everything right now is sloping down because that house honestly, that house should have been built higher, but it isn't. It's there. And so we have to look, deal with it. So our thought is after meeting with him again, and he had some thoughts about like trying to do some things. And so after we met, John was there also, and I mentioned like, what we probably should look at is just topo that street right away and come up with a concept of how to maybe address that drainage. And really what needs to happen is, at least at this point, we think, is probably some piping on the west side of the roadway. Create, if we can, some shallow, not deep ditches, but kind of a shallow swale so that we can catch that water that's coming from the west into a storm sewer pipe and then discharge that east and let it kind of naturally run. Because where the water goes now is on the south side of his house. It kind of goes through his backyard, and north and east of his house, there's a storm sewer area inlet that then it gets into the storm sewer system and goes somewhere, right? And so that's what we're proposing to do. Topo survey it, do a kind of a real preliminary drainage analysis and come up with a concept and a cost opinion. So then at least we've looked at it. Hey, here's what probably should happen or could happen. And then we bring that back to you, and then you decide like, okay, are we gonna do something or not do something? But it's not gonna go away. It's just gonna continue.
I've been to more than a half a dozen meetings on site about this now, so.
And so, there was, and I remember, I think Paul asked me like, oh, is this, and I think John did too, was like, well, is this the village's responsibility? And Misha is like, oh, yeah, maybe not. Well, but now when I go back and look at it, it's like, well, when that roadway was built, normally when you build a roadway and it's a rural section roadway, there are ditches on each side to collect the water. You see that in other parts. So probably should have been ditches on that west side. That could be a little bit of challenging too, because it goes up pretty good grade, because Scott, you live over there, right? Okay, so, right. So we want to be careful what we look at there, because we're not going to put any deep ditches, and we can't, right? But that's why if maybe if we can build a storm sewer pipe in there, we could have something shallow, like maybe a foot deep or something, and then everything kind of drains. So we're trying to, I think the thought is to try to intercept the water and keep it from going over the roadway. It maybe even regrading the roadway, because actually the roadway now is like tipped this way to the east. It doesn't look like there's a lot of crown in it. So maybe regrading that so there's crowns, keep that water from going over the top. That might be the fix. At least see what it looks like for a cost. That's our suggestion.
And I don't see how we can make any informed decisions unless we have some of this information that you guys need to.
Yeah, I mean, his nice person to talk to. He wasn't upset or anything, but he wanted to try to do some things, and it's like, yeah, but is that really going to be a fix? And so anyway, that's the problem.
I'd like to see us recommend moving forward with this topographic survey and design phase. And that's something we can put on the shelf and budget for a project later, that design.
It's not going to be full design, but it's going to be a concept.
Yeah.
And then if it's like, you know what, that's something you want to do, or it's like, no, we're not doing it, but at least you have an idea of,
Okay.
like, here's the concept and here's like how it could work, right? And then it could roll into a
project,
an actual project, right? Of some sort, right? At this point, we're kind of guessing what it may look like. But once we have that elevation data and what that all looks like, then we can lay something out, review that with you.
Now, I feel like we've kicked this can down the road for two different homeowners now, so I'd like to see us make a motion to move forward with this $8,000 estimate on topographic survey and design phase. We can get a motion in a second for that.
At the end of the day, it could be just simple as regrading the road.
It could be, yeah.
Could be, right.
Till we
Because we know we'll probably not get more than 4 votes for a whole street reconstruction and assessment to the property owner.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, even that property owner goes, like, I can't afford that and that, I think we can come up with, hopefully we can come up with a less costly solution that, addresses the drainage, but, isn't, super costly.
Like to make a motion?
Yes, this
Hmm?
mainly just affect the one property owner is. But, on the other hand,
It's an odd street.
Yeah.
And like he said, if there was any other rural street, it would have ditches and this one doesn't, and. It does seem to me like it's unfair that the whole street drains towards his house, and maybe. Maybe it's worth getting some information that will help us make a decision.
The thing we don't know is like, well, why, like, how did that all happen over there? It just happened over time and, unless it's just like, well, why was it done that way? Who knows? But it is what it is.
Anybody want to make a motion? If not. Let's move on. Item E, water sewer, people services report. James, what do you have for us?
As far as business that you guys have already approved, the Sixth Street project. And then dredging, they said they're gonna be here after Thanksgiving, next week. The SCADA equipment will be here at the beginning of December. And that'll be something to where they'll leave the old SCADA system up and running. Just in case there are problems, so they can just kind of go back and forth. We have a VFD in the well on St. Paul and Bell that is going out. Every time the well was shutting off, the VFD would trip. VFD is the variable drive that runs the well. So right now we're just running off one well. Just ramped it up to where we're still making the same amount of water. The electrician looking in to try to can't find the same equipment because it's outdated. He's trying to find something that is comparable. And then we talked in our meeting, I think it's on here later, about the fairgrounds. I didn't get a quote yet. We had talked about maybe putting a meter in. Meter there going into the fairground. It is a 6-inch water main, and a meter alone is going to run anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 just for the meters. Then you're going to have to put a meter pit or manhole. I don't know if really that's the way to go on that.
That came up in a conversation. We had a water sewer meeting and we discussed the possibility of putting a meter for the entire fairgrounds.
Because we've got to read 4 or 5 meters now.
5.
Yeah.
So we threw that out. There's the conversation point of what would it cost us? And now we know.
Yeah, that's just the meter alone.
Everything currently metered though, right? Or
There's
not?
a fire hydrant that's not metered, but.
The RV,
I
I don't think the RV area is metered up there.
I'm not sure
You
they
think-
have water. I don't think they have
They
water.
don't?
They might just have power.
I think they just have power because they use the
It's
shower.
on their lips.
They use the south or the north showers.
Okay.
So I don't think they have water access other than that, and that is metered. Or I don't think they can just hook their RV right up to
So they have a sewer dump, but not
correct.
water hookups.
Yeah. Which They can't really meter that.
Right, right.
That's all I got for you. You guys have any questions for me?
We're in the process of trying to find something to replace that pump then.
It's not, it's just a VFD, it's just a drive that
Gotcha,
runs the pump. There's nothing wrong with the pump. The pump's still good.
gotcha.
The drive that runs it. And yeah,
So we're pulling water just from one well right now.
just from the well behind the water treatment plant.
Gotcha. So what do we're in the process of just trying to find the replacement of some sort. Okay.
Committee report. We just had our quarterly water sewer meeting. And looks like a lot of things that we were talking about have been addressed tonight. Working on curb stops. Did we get all those curb stops figured out last week?
That was another, I guess I didn't write that down. Me and Kate had talked. So there's some that we still can't find and there's some that we know that don't work. None of them are really an emergency except for the one that's gonna be fixed on 6th Street. So I didn't know if we waited until we had a certain certain number of curb stops. Then we said, okay, let's fix these. Instead of having them come
1,
out.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, that's-
6 of them.
We could,
How many of these have been on the list for over a year?
We have 2 that need fixed. Matt came out Friday and thinks that the old Eagle Auto, that one's under his sign compared to where the others are. They usually follow a pattern, so he thinks that one's there. The other house on 6th Street, he thinks is under like trees and mulch and stuff. So we'd have to dig that up.
Okay, well,
And 2 of them so far need fixed. Did you find that one at Thompson Apartments?
I did.
Oh, okay, so that's what I've got.
did you get some assistance last week?
Yeah.
Okay,
But I wasn't here Friday. So.
okay.
Yeah, Matt came.
All right, well, this has been an ongoing problem that I'd like to see us get on.
I would Matt for in the future. I think the ones that we have now, as soon as I get a better idea of what actually needs to be done. Yeah, we'll get somebody in here and fix them. But I mean, in the future, I don't know if we wait until we get a certain number, going down the road, if we get like 3, if we get to 3, I'm like, okay, let's get them in, let's get these fixed. I don't think you want to have just them come out and fix one curb stop. You're gonna pay a lot of money. It'd be a lot cheaper if you just pay them to come out once to 3 things or 4 things.
Who would we be getting to come out here? Who would it be?
It could be Hetton, it could be Weesey, any of the people that we've used before.
I'm just curious what kind of discount we're getting for waiting versus our risk of leaving it.
The mobilization
Yeah.
for every visit, I imagine, whatever that would be.
Just wondering what the magic number is when it makes sense.
Mhm.
But we'll get a number when we fix the one right now, we'll kind of get an idea of what it costs just to get them here.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's move on. We've got one more item for JEO. Let's get these guys out of here. I know they want to go watch football.
I know I did.
Discussion about 8th Street sanitary sewer improvements, just.
Yep, okay, so my name is Merritt Lane, I'm a water wastewater engineer for JEO here to present this design services agreement for the 8th Street sanitary sewer improvements. I'm not sure if you guys have the exhibit or the agreement in front of you, or Kate can pull that up.
It's in the packet. In their packet.
But there is an exhibit, I would like to at least show you guys or review with you guys, page 6 of the agreement that kind of spells out what's going on, and what's proposed to be done as part of this project, if you guys aren't aware. But essentially, between Bell Street and Dodge Street on 8th Street, there's a sanitary sewer that crosses underneath the private residence. Travis brought this issue to us. It's a maintenance issue. The city is unable to, or the village is unable to maintain this sanitary sewer underneath that property. And then obviously, if it were to collapse or settle in that area, that's a bigger problem. So I'm not aware of any easement that the city had or the village has in that area either. So this project proposes to abandon that line, likely with flowable fill or some sort of grout and mortar to avoid any settlement in the future, and then reroute that sanitary sewer down 8th Street in conjunction with the street project. And that's the existing sanitary sewer there is shown in green. And what would be proposed is shown in red there. So we extend sanitary sewer south down 8th Street and connect it on Dodge Street with a new manhole and replace to the east towards the existing manhole. So that is the extent of the project. I guess flipping back to the scope of services, we would grab any additional topo that we don't have as part of the streets project. I know there's a couple manhole invert elevations that we need to get and some topo in that area. And then typical design services stuff that you guys went through with the paving project. We'll have our meetings with the village and the street superintendent, 30% meeting, design, find that further, get to a 90% design meeting. And then the intent would be to change order this project into the streets, the paving project. And do it alongside the streets project so that we can hopefully save on some of the pavement removal and such that will be happening on 8th Street.
Is there any overlap in the topographic from this street to one block east?
Yes, there is to the east. I'd have
Would
to
you be
go
going the
back.
opposite way from the current street project that we're involved in, but
Yeah,
that's the one we were just talking about. I don't know. Is there cost or how hard is it to expand the scope of your topographic?
are you asking to get it along 7th Street
Yeah,
or like for the storm
yeah.
thing that we were talking about?
Is there any chance to combine projects and save us money is what I'm getting at? And I don't know, maybe that should have been a question for Steve or, okay.
Well, the total survey that has to happen on the sewer project is really just that half block, right?
Yeah,
And then double checking some invert manhole elevations.
So
There is a little bit of topo survey, but it's not.
I didn't know if we were surveying everywhere there's green air, the green lines for the proposed or not. Okay. Go ahead.
no, it'll really just be that red east and west.
The green is what it's,
section
right? Red
that
is
we
what
don't have.
we're going to.
Okay.
So.
So that's what we would do. That's what you said.
All right, yeah.
Bringing that straight south.
Then that's not anywhere.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. But we will have to verify some elevations of that manhole. We are tight. And obviously we don't, with gravity sanitary sewer, we need to flow downhill, right? So we'll verify the invert elevations of the sanitary sewer between Bell and Dodge Street and make sure that this can be done.
I think the key thing on this is if we decide we want to do this, is that if we can negotiate a reasonable price with the contractor who's doing the paving work.
Mhm.
And if we can do that, then there's definitely some cost savings, then we don't have to advertise for bids. The construction staking or even the observation is gonna be probably pretty minimal because we're gonna be out on site anyway, so.
Okay.
So that's where you're gonna, potentially save some money. Hopefully we can negotiate a price, after it's designed, so. But if there's an issue there, now's the time to take care of it before we pave everything, and then we have driveways built back, and then we come back later and have to tear stuff out. Go, why didn't we do this before, right? So I'm not trying to shove it, push it along, but if there's an issue, we probably should have addressed and taken care of. Now's the time.
And that's the 26,000.
Yep, so the 26,000 will get you topo all the way through design, all the way through an approved construction permit through NDE.
So we abandon the east-west. And then it would still flow
Yeah, it still had flow through the alley.
So this here is what's getting abandoned.
Yep, you abandon that.
And
You
then
just
put
take
this
out the
city-
east-west section.
That would
The
still be
others-
operating and then we extend it this way. Because there are services that are.
Right.
on this right.
Yeah, I'm assuming probably this house is going there, this house is going there,
Yeah,
and you're just worried about making sure there's flow from there to here.
yep.
Which probably there isn't, and that's why they
This will need to
originally
be
did this.
deeper.
Yeah.
Yep, that would need to be a deep manhole and then that's why we need to replace this.
We would have to move the manhole, you think?
We'd have to add a manhole here,
Okay,
on the intersection of Dodge and Eighth.
okay. There any other questions for JEO? If not, we have a motion and a second for approval of agreements.
I'll motion to approve the agreement.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the agreement with JEO Consulting Group for design services on the 2023 8th Street Sanitary Improvement Project in the amount of $26,000. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCartney.
Aye.
Jeremy Henstrom. Jason Weezy.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Item D, discussion about, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Discussion about county fairground water billing.
Yep, I will.
We've finally got meters on most of the water usage. In the beginning, when we had this agreement for an annual price for their water sewer, I don't think we had any meters down there. I think it was hard for them to put in meter pits, and now since then, they've had somebody on the fair board that can do that for them, and they've got meter pits, they've got meters. It's a revenue generating business. It's not like we're supporting someone that I think, we feel like that because it's revenue generating business most of the time, that we should charge them the same rates we do any of our other commercial customers. We can have the discussion later that $7,000 to $10,000 for a single meter seems to be a lot. I don't know if we want to do that. I know it's kind of a pain for Kate to add up 5 or 6 different meters, but so
It's
I
more of a pain
think
to go read it, it is to add it up, I would say, with a calculator.
they're still radio read, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they are radio? No, I don't know. if they
I'm
are.
on radio.
Oh, well.
You just have to print the paper.
I think our current contract's 1,500 a year.
So I looked to see if we actually had like a contract or anything. All I could find was the last time they talked about it was 2011, and that was $1,100, and it was just a motion. So I don't know when the 1,500 was or 1,520 is what it is, was established. But it would have just been a motion. I feel like whatever we decide should probably be put in resolution to be a little more like. Yeah, look at what we're doing.
So if it goes to standard rates, then is there a motion needed? Wouldn't that be the same as?
I don't know. I mean, do we need to revoke? I couldn't find where they agreed on 1,520. Like, do we need to revoke that motion?
I see.
Or I don't know, but I also don't know when that. It's
I would
just.
say we
legal and
could
I
make a
hate that.
resolution tonight to charge them normal industrial, commercial rates. Make sure with our lawyer in the morning before we make any changes, if there's any issues with the way we did that.
Right.
I would think just a motion to charge them the normal rates. What do you think?
Special or revoke? Would we be revoking specialty rates versus motion to standard rate? It's semantics, I'm sure, but I'm just,
If we don't have, unless they come up with a copy of what,
we have nothing to
Yeah.
get to revoke, yeah.
yeah, if we can't find anything to rescind, I don't know.
I don't know either.
You know, are they billed now at all?
They're billed annually. They make an
Annually for
payment,
one
yeah.
price and
Yeah.
then sewer.
Yeah,
that's
this is gonna be a
included in
big
that.
change for them,
Right.
it's, it's
Gotcha.
probably gonna triple their, what did we say, triple or,
Yeah,
They're-
they're 1,520.
yeah. triple their
yeah,
annual expense.
4 months or 5 months, they've used $1,800 worth of water. That doesn't, I didn't even throw sewer on there.
And that wasn't fair season, right?
No,
Or did that-
it started in like,
September.
was it start in September, I think? I think September was the first bill that was generated. I don't know, I'd have to look.
I'm looking for a baseline, like just the rentals, just
I can
those.
check. Oh, I have this in front of me. Looks like, June, July, August, September. So it started in
So
June. Yeah, so it was summer. So I don't know.
so maybe it was
So probably the buildings, correct? I mean, it's probably the ones that they're renting for.
Yeah, so there's 2 bathrooms, a wash station, the RVR building, and then the Ryman building. Are the ones that are metered.
Hmm.
And, I forget which ones, but there's some that don't always have consumption.
The wash station they only use
During the fair.
during the.
livestock.
So, I mean, it varies.
And what have we been charging for sewage?
Nothing, it's just been 15, 20 flat.
Whereas if you're a residential person, it's based off of your consumption and.
And commercial, yeah, any other customer is based off the average from January to March.
Hmm,
So, if we started this in January,
hmm,
by April, they would have a sewer fee.
hmm.
You want to talk to our lawyer first, since we don't need to change anything till January?
Yeah, I'll see if we just.
Do that. Then we know what we need to make, a motion, resolution, ordinance change, whatever, yeah.
I just-
Did you call the fair board and see if they have a copy of?
I had sent out a message to the entire fair board and I didn't hear back from anybody, so I was like, you're more than welcome to come and talk about this, please.
Hmm,
So I'll reach out again, but.
hmm. Well, it could be just our lack of record keeping. They may have it.
I know, I don't know. I just know in 2011, they just made a motion. Something had to have occurred after the fact though, because it went up, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I figured if we did like a resolution though, it would be much easier to find again.
Well, you and I were on the board when we.
Makes
started.
Yes,
I think we-
And it's very easy.
I think that ultimately was our goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's. Obviously, we gotta track what they're using to charge them for it, so. It was easy and convenient to make a monthly fee when we didn't know what they were using, now we do, and it's only fair.
Yeah.
To all the other big businesses and the school and whatever.
Water users, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk to Tim. See what he recommends we do, whether we make a resolution, a motion, or
Whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Sounds good.
then we can handle this in December and be ready for January change.
Yes.
All right, item E, discussion of water lines and possible commercial septic tank for parcel 8900000462.
So this is the lot that is directly south, on the south side of the highway across from RBR Bank Arena. They are wanting to build a Dollar General. They're only buying a portion of the parcel that is not in the floodway. So because you can only build on what's not a floodway. What else do I know? He had talked to James about this water sewer situation over there, and if they were to do like a sewer line out there, they'd have to put in a new lift station. It was like $70,000. So then he was like, well, could we just do a commercial septic tank? And I was like, well,
That's gonna be a county thing too, and I know that's getting to be a lot more difficult. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with the county and a septic.
I haven't, but the water treatment plant has a septic tank.
Yeah,
They're not hooked up.
so I'm not sure. The water line, we're talking about going from the fairgrounds, the main there from the fairgrounds south. Is that what he said?
So it would be where. Kind of across from Chuck's. There's a fire hydrant there, since that's still city land. You're not really getting, he was gonna try to come across there. And then go down the easement on the south side of the highway, or come from. Behind Casey's, because there's a main there. And then so you go down 8th to the easement, and then go down the highway that way.
Are they developing more than one lot? Or is it just one lot?
He didn't say, he just said that they were buying, well, here's what he said. So they're buying all that's not in the floodway and they are currently in the process of getting some sort of something from Department of Transportation because there's like limited access on that highway. But he told them this would be the only commercial development because the rest is a floodway. So part of me was like, okay, it sounds like just a Dollar General, but then also if you're just having a drive, like it could obviously go further back.
Yeah, looking
I'm not
at the floodway,
Is it quite a bit of space or?
most of it's gone because of the floodway.
Okay,
But it's still a lot bigger than one lot for Dollar General.
Right.
It looks like it could be 2 or 3 lots,
okay.
but I don't know.
I'm not sure either, but so they were really, so they're waiting on DOT, but they're really wanting to get going on the water sewer side of things. Because they want our planning commission and us to discuss like the annexing part in January, because in February or March, they will have plans for us to look at, so. That's where we're at, and yeah.
One thing on the septic, you definitely have to find out, is it just gonna be bathrooms and sinks? Or are they gonna have some kind of deli in there where they're gonna have to use more water? I'm guessing that would be a huge. You know, if they're gonna use a lot more water, the county's probably gonna be like, no, we're not putting this out.
Well, I question whether that's an option because I think it's been getting harder and harder to get a septic from the county. I'll see if I can talk to the county inspector. Cause I think the building, I don't know if it's the building inspector that inspects those. I know somebody has to come out and inspect
Right.
testing.
Right.
Let me talk to some people at the county office about that, and I'm sure there's some other questions that we would have about possible annexation or anything that I could talk to
Yeah,
the county planning.
yeah.
Okay. We don't need to make any action on that tonight. But if they wanted water lines, they'd be wanting them in March, wouldn't they? That's when they're talking about having plans. Is that what you said? And did they say a construction potential date?
They did not say that, yeah, so they're submitting, so it's called Overland Group, and they're submitting their plans to like corporate Dollar General the first week of December. And then they'll start working on their site plans beginning of January, so they want us to get going because by March at the latest, they'll have all that to us and wanting us to look at that.
So James, RVR building is right across the road from where this looks like it fits. Is there any other option besides a $70,000 lift station that we could put in to ultimately get it over the sewer that's there already that obviously doesn't have a problem flowing downhill?
Everything from the fairgrounds is forced. They have 3 2-inch forced mains,
Okay.
so it's not. I don't think that.
The fairgrounds is already below.
Yeah.
The system.
Okay.
Which I mean, that, I guess they could look into doing something like that. I don't know if they could run a force main. I don't know how much that would cost.
Where does the county's force main go to?
It goes to the manhole behind the bus barn.
Okay.
The closest manhole on south side would be behind Casey,
So the force main is because of elevation or distance to a sewer line?
because of elevation.
Okay, all right.
And the main that's behind Casey is probably only about 5 foot deep. So I mean, there's no way you can run a line that far.
And there's no way to tie
And get the
into,
proper fall.
Right.
Yeah.
and there's no way to tie into the pipeline from the treatment plant to Fremont. Cause where's that run? That's gotta be dang near on the backside of that already, isn't it? That doesn't go to the other side of the railroad, does it?
Do you guys have, can I look at one of your maps?
Yeah.
Which
So-
map do you want, James?
So this is where,
The one that they're talking. Okay.
cause there's a railroad. It doesn't go to the other side of the railroad, does it?
Oh, yeah, it comes,
Or does it come down
it
here?
follows this street here. And then it comes all the way down here, and then right here at the railroad tracks, it crosses the river.
Okay,
So it follows this street all
so
the
there
way.
wouldn't be any way to somehow tie in here.
I don't know how they would.
I was just curious.
I think you'd want to watch. You wouldn't want to watch from a close distance.
Probably.
Well, yeah, let's find out some more information from the county on some of these questions. That might be a question, if Mike knows about tying into a force main, ask him if that's a possibility.
Okay.
Cause that might be, I don't, yeah.
A commercial septic is probably the best solution, but with it all being floodplain there, are they gonna allow that in?
I just don't know. I can remember 10 years ago before the flood, when we were outside of town, that property owner had to have a new septic put in, and it was a big deal.
Sure.
And 20 years ago. And I can't imagine that's gotten better,
I wouldn't imagine.
you know.
Is Mike the one with Dollar General?
His name is Jonathan Weimers.
Okay. If you talk to him again, can you find out for sure if there's gonna be more than one lot?
Yeah.
If they want to do outlots there, because that, I mean, if there was gonna be 2 or 3 commercial businesses, when we talk about revenue, tax revenue, it
Yeah.
might be a different story if there's opportunity to put something else there.
Yeah, I'll call him.
All right. That all we had for James? I think we kind of covered our committee report. All we had was our quarter water sewer. Yeah. All right, thanks for your time, James. Item A, Washington County Sheriff's Report. We don't have any rep on the Zoom meeting. Does anybody have anything for Sheriff Robinson?
It's
Got to have complaints you were gonna talk about
Yeah.
parking.
Lane's trailer sticking too far on the street, well, I email him some pictures and. Suppose we'll need a quarterly report from meeting anyway.
What was it
When's the last time we did it before the fair?
Are we still emailing them complaints? Is that still an option that we're using and it works, or?
Like nuisance complaints?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't seem like we've had as many issues.
right.
lately. Is that,
I'm trying to think like the last time. I guess I've sent them some stuff about trailers was probably the last time. Oh, and there was a random vehicle parked on the street for a while. But I haven't had a whole lot. I feel like.
okay,
Almost.
all right, if that's all we got under police, let's move on to item G. Parks, you guys have anything, Travis, Jeremy?
The only item would be the library report. We're gonna meet with the library to discuss them getting, they'd like to have a budget report. Something from our accounting, that just tells them where they're at with their budget, their reserve money from the Friends of the Library, things that they're storing with us that are exclusively their money to spend. But we're gonna do that. We're gonna get a meeting booked maybe next week with Kate, Jeremy and I and Sheila and whoever else she invites. They're doing some great stuff with kind of a youth game club, they're calling it. So trying to drive some more activity around the library, whether it be reading or just any activity. Kind of a cool idea.
They work with you on their copier. Looks like they had a problem with their copier.
She hasn't said anything to me about it. I don't know if she's still having. We did replace the, or Taylor replaced the door handle for the back door, so that's
Good.
fixed now, yeah.
Do we lease ours or did we buy our copier? I can't remember.
We lease ours in the office.
No, we do pay, I thought
That's what we pay.
what we paid was for like,
Monthly contract.
like our like toner and stuff, cause they send us this like toner report thing and like, I don't know. I don't understand it.
But you'll probably have to go back.
I found when we bought it, because we had it serviced earlier, because it's acted like it wanted to give up on us, but he said it was great shape. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
But it was like $3,000 or something like.
So it's not the same company that would be theirs?
I'm not sure. I don't know what she has. It's not like a big like Savin like we've got.
Okay.
I don't know what she's got, but
Maybe follow up with her on that one. I'll if they haven't followed up with you.
no, I haven't heard anything, so I don't know, but I can ask.
It says they called 12 points. What do you have? 12 points and it's such a copier. Yeah.
Hey,
All right. Anything else on the library you had? Okay. Item H, cemetery. See the lights are still on out there. It's looking good. Probably not much new going on right now out there, is there?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet, so. I'll report it this time.
You got it.
October 31st, there's a little sketch.
Well, not with all the lights anymore. Nobody can see the glowing gravestone.
I know, that's a
Got all
problem. Yeah.
the lights on the memorial. All right, administrative Washington County building permit report. Did anybody have any questions, concerns on that?
Cemetery, sorry, one thing.
Okay, back.
We were contacted, Tommy Gilmore called today and asked me, so I bring him to the board, if he can decorate a tree out by Merritt's, gravestone, just Christmas, solar Christmas lights. If it'd be okay to put that up, for the month of December, and he'd take it all back down. Just, take it to the board.
I don't see how, as long as he's not gonna disturb any. I mean, nobody's gonna be out there mowing, so, yeah. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You could just.
All right. Washington County building permit report. I don't see anything new construction wise, nothing I have concern with.
Just, cause I can see how that can.
Item B, clerk's report.
I guess really the like main things have been G-Works, has all these big changes they're doing that they wanna charge us like $16,000 for. And I said, that's a lot. But basically there's Simple City and then they're like G-Works Cloud is what they call it. And that's where we have front desk. And Simple City is just like a desktop software. And so they want to get rid of Simple City in like 2 years and it'll all just be this like cloud program, but you have to buy all these hubs, like the utility hub, the payroll hub, that hub, and all of that would be $16,000. And I was skeptical of if we get $16,000 worth out of this program. So anyway, that's just how I've been feeling, but they're not trying to rid Simple City for like 2 years, she said, so.
And we have to get all the hubs.
If once they get rid of Simple City, yeah,
We have to take.
Yeah.
Okay.
for the time being, no, I don't know, it's so glitchy that it makes me nervous to like throw everything into this G-Works cloud because like we struggle to print receipts sometimes. And I'm like, if payroll, utility billing and all of that, meter reads are in this thing, like if I can't print a receipt, what else can't I do? So I don't know, makes me nervous. We also pay $1,100 for our website, which I thought was silly. I don't think the website's worth $1,100, so I don't know, these are just thoughts.
For the billing one you're talking about for water sewer.
No, for our village website.
We're paying for that with them? Oh,
Like to have website
coding.
management,
This one.
$1,100.
oh, we were doing that ourselves.
Never did.
Oh,
Nikki got it set up that with that, they gave us the website.
Yeah, like they do all these bundles, but
But yes, I fully would support doing it ourselves. I have
yeah.
complete confidence.
What is that website?
Arlington,
.com
.gov,
or .gov, I mean.
or .gov, arlingtonne.gov.
it's a WordPress site with a shortcut to the right.
But it's not very customizable and it just, I don't know, for $1,100, I feel like I should do more.
So they're hosting it on their server?
They hosted.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, so that's how I've been feeling about that. We've also been discussing the citizenship award process because we have someone in mind, but we don't feel like to bring it to the board and have the board decide, yes, this person deserves this award isn't much of a surprise. It's on the agenda as like a public, like whatever. So it's like, how do we? I don't know.
How many people read the paper?
No, people don't.
We could have a committee.
People that get the award probably aren't reading the minutes.
No, but I don't know,
We could have a committee and.
right? Like, I
The
don't,
committee could consult
right,
to make that decision and then it could still be a surprise.
or something. I don't.
I like the idea of a committee that
Travis is
has
on it because he kind of brought it to us originally.
I did.
board members, 2 members of our employees. Who else could we put on it? Over 60 center, anybody like that, would you?
I was gonna recommend maybe someone from the foundation. Sure. To the community foundation.
Absolutely. I think I've set up the guidelines, what we tried making up as what it meant to be an award winner.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we had talked about the plaque and displaying it out here and all that.
And the plaque is already hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
And we talked about getting an award for the person and ask them to come to a meeting and get their photo taken with a big thank you for the paper.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, our grant money from the flood, that hit the account. I was like 29,000, I think. So 3 years later, we got it.
Perfect.
Lions Club, maybe someone from the Lions Club on your committee?
Sure.
That's a good idea. No, that's a good idea.
I'm just trying to grow up, like a service organization.
Yeah.
So they might have a connection of someone that they would nominate or
Well,
suggest.
we definitely want to make sure that all these organizations can nominate someone, send it to Kate.
Yeah.
And whatever the committee is that
Mhm.
makes final selection. Love it.
The foundation
Yeah.
people.
That's a good idea.
Foundation Foundation.
Love it.
That's all I got.
Hey, you need us to approve you to go to the workshop in March?
Yeah.
We've got, wait a minute.
Sorry,
Before we do that, let's,
I just saw that in her report.
discussion and
I didn't
possible
look at- I didn't
approval of
look at
ordinance
this.
679, amendment to AMC 12.4.020. This is, for the ability to have Kate put liens and collection agencies on without having to come to a board vote and putting a time frame on it of 60 days
Yeah.
that she can take action.
Yes, I had put in there that it would be between the clerk and then the water commission, which is Paul and Travis right now, and that we could like be like, okay, you're 60 days past due, sign the lien, take it to the county. Cause right now that section of our code reads like every June 1st, I'll present all of the delinquent accounts and then we'll assess liens from there, but it just feels more of like, I need to do it when it happens, because they can sell their house.
Yep.
So
Should it say water sewer commission or water sewer committee?
it's written commission on the paper that
Okay.
we do in December. I thought it was committee. but
Okay.
It's commission.
All right.
And then the other thing is that, I mean, since I've started here, there's just been several accounts sitting that they left, they're gone.
We
can't
have
get
no
them
way.
to-
Passed away, their estate.
they bounced. Or like, a lot of them are tenants that just moved and did not pay their bill, and we can't find them. So, I met with Credit Bureau Services in Fremont. Oakland and Fremont uses them. But basically, they are a one-time setup fee of $50. And then, so once we do that $50 setup fee, then basically I can send whatever accounts I need to her. and we keep 60%, they take 40. If there's any legal fees or anything involved, they handle all of it, but then it's 50-50 for the share. And yeah, all of our like bad debt that we have right now would be eligible for collection. She said after 4 years, it's not, but all of this is at least, I mean, since G works 3 years or what, 2 years. And I think that's it, but I just felt like collecting 60% was better than 0% that we're getting right now. So
Okay.
We would not need to waive.
I don't think
readings on
we do.
this.
I'm not comfortable waiving the rules on this.
I wouldn't think so.
It's not an emergency. I know it's a nuisance for you, but yeah, I would say we just read the first paragraph, the first reading tonight. If someone wants to make a motion in a second.
I'll move to introduce ordinance number 679. I'm sorry. Move for introduction and passage of ordinance number 679, which reads, an ordinance of the Village of Arlington, Nebraska to amend Chapter 12, Article 4, Section 20, lien and establish the use of liens and collection agency for delinquent utility accounts, amending and replacing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the first reading of ordinance 679.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Yes.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Okay, discussion about 415 North First Street. Kate's been doing some research. We've got some options on how to get.
Yes, so this is the trailer next door to the dog park. It has a deed of trust that's like $88,000. The owner is making payments on it. He is also not behind on his property taxes. But I called the attorney that is with the Small Business Administration. He is the trustee on the deed of trust. The Small Business Administration, like in Texas, is the beneficiary, okay? So I called Greg, who's this attorney, and was like, I mean, this house or this trailer needs condemned. Like, how does that affect you guys? Like, whatever. And he said, so it's not worth $88,000. And I said, no, it's not. I said, it's one strong wind away from falling over. So anyway, he said the SBA will not want it because it's not worth their amount. Like if they take it, like they're not going to get their money back, right?
It's a liability.
So, he had some options for us. He said, if you have nuisance, like ordinances or whatever that allow you to tear it down, you can tear it down, assess that money back to the property as a lien. And then if he doesn't pay the lien off in X amount of months, we can foreclose on it and it's ours. Or, the SBA does work with, groups, people, governments, whatever, that we could basically come to them and be like, we will take it for what it's valued at for the land, and they will kind of just say, fine.
Look at that. 2019 it sold for $2,500. I didn't think it was worth 80-some thousand.
Well, the flood was 2020, right?
19,
Thank
flood
you.
was 2019. I'm not sure, but he also said, so it sounds like no one's been out there to look at it, and I said, probably not. But, he can sell it to us, Mike Lau, the property owner. And then, I mean, obviously.
That's not the
not
name that's
getting-
listed though.
Yeah, it is.
It is, oh, it is still, okay.
Huh.
That was.
But
was who sold it.
His
Okay.
trust is his problem, but, because he wanted us to just take, and I was like, well, can we? Because you have this like deed of trust, but the attorney said, yeah, he could sell it to you guys or whatever, but the deed of trust is still his problem. He also said, see if he's paying his property taxes. He is, so that's not route, but so I don't know, I've been trying to figure out like, because our nuisance ordinances do allow us to abate nuisances, which like, I'm guessing that would allow us to abate them in any way we would need to, i.e. take it down. So does it need condemned first before we can do that? We don't have any ordinances on condemning houses. or properties or
I
buildings.
think it's already been condemned through the process of the flood inspections.
Was it?
Through the
Okay,
FEMA inspections.
okay,
So look back on that property. There should be a folder for every property. And I imagine we've gotten to the point of condemning all the properties.
well, but how do we condemn? We don't have any ordinances saying, here's what you need to do. Another town like had, the state, building inspector, the fire marshal and somebody else come in and inspect it. And then their board of health also inspected it. And then collectively, they recommended to the board to condemn it, but we don't have any laid out process like that.
I think the committee members are laid out. It's like the sheriff, our appointed doctor,
And then the chairman.
and then the chairman
Yeah.
I think they can condemn the property if it hasn't already been done through the flood process. So
Okay,
see what you can find on this file, because I thought we posted notices on all the buildings that weren't allowed to be occupied.
okay. So then I guess my question is, we condemn it, what does that do for us? Does that allow us to just tear it down?
Well, I think we can give the owners notice that you need to abate this property, the nuisance. And if you don't do it in 30 days, we'll do it as we see fit, and then we'll either bill you or apply a lien to your property for the amount of the demolition.
It's a less opportunity to fix it.
Right,
So let's find out if we have a condemnation already. If we need to go through that process, then maybe talk to our lawyer and find out the process of asking to buy this for parks. And, then we could, if we could buy it cheap enough to not have to go through legal processes. We could see if our Parks Committee wants to budget monies for that. For the
Right.
purchase of the property and the demolition of the trailer. See where that goes. But I think we need to talk to our lawyer and get some direction on which way we go from this point.
I had asked him and he said, I assume there's someone there that knows the nuisance ordinances. Can't you just make him clean it up?
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I'll ask a different question.
I know there's a file on all those properties, so see what you can find in there.
Okay,
Maybe next Monday we can sit down and go through those.
In March.
yeah,
Yeah.
It was bought right before the flood.
so he bought it. This Greg Stratman, this attorney, did say he would be our connection to the SBA. If we need to work with them and whatever, he would help us do that. So we do have that
March 20th.
connection now, because they're hard to get a hold of.
Just after.
Or just a point, they're probably dating it. Because it started as a FEMA buyout, then he backed out.
Yeah, the flood and they all started that same week in March, flood and the pandemic. Was that early March, wasn't it? Yeah. All right, we'll get some more direction on that. Find out what things are there. Item E, discussion and possible approval to send Kate and Jake to the NMCA Institute March 18th through March 22nd at a cost of $886 plus lodging at a cost of $99 a night, equaling $792 for 4 nights and meal stipend.
Down. Big back on 350. Which is a start off.
What is the 14th?
Up for next 15.
Who wants to go watch football? I'm sorry, you can't make a motion. Do we have a motion or any questions on sending Kate and Jake to the Clerks Institute?
A motion to approve sending Kate and Jake to the NMCA Institute March 18th through March 20th at a cost of $886 plus lodging at a cost of $99 a night, equaling $792 for 4 nights and meal stipend.
Do we have a second?
Are we paying you mileage, Kate, or are you taking
The Tahoe,
you're gonna take the Tahoe? Excellent. Glad we get that puppy.
use it.
Honestly, yeah, I don't know how much we drive it, but I think it's cheap. cheap to keep around so far. Until we start seeing some maintenance costs. I mean, we've already put tires on. We gotta drive the use out of the tires.
Exactly, we gotta get at least 40,000.
Second that.
That doesn't mean do burnouts or anything. We have a motion and a second for approval to send Kate and Jake to the Clerk Institute.
Did you look under?
If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jim Quiggy,
Yes.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. That leads us to item 8.
Just got one other question on 7E, as far as that 7th Street. Do we have any cost from JEO with that or already, or is he just kind of listen?
I don't think so. I think they've just been site visits, informal discussions on a lunch hour. I've never been billed for those from JEO. I would hope that's included in our yearly contract with our.
I like your thought. I'm thinking maybe we could get some of that and have them go over there, but
I don't know. We,
just that next month and.
maybe we
Go ahead
could.
and think about it a little bit.
That's fine.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Let's vote on that motion.
Travis Kramer. Scott McCorney. Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Quiggy, Paul Kraus.
Aye. No record meeting tonight.